Maria was a young mechanic who lived in a small town near the mountains. She was strong, brave, and loved solving problems. Ever since she was a child, she enjoyed taking machines apart and fixing them. Her small workshop was full of tools, wires, and old engine parts, but she loved every corner of it. Maria believed that no problem was too difficult to solve if you worked patiently and carefully. One hot morning, Maria woke up early. The sun was already shining, and the air smelled fresh with a hint of wildflowers from the mountains. She decided to drive to the nearby town to pick up some parts for a customer. She climbed into her small truck and started the engine. As she drove along the winding mountain road, she enjoyed the quiet beauty of the forest around her. Birds were singing, and leaves rustled softly in the breeze. After driving for about 30 minutes, Maria noticed something unusual near the edge of the road. Steam was rising from a hot spring, and the water shimmered in the morning sunlight. Hot springs were not uncommon in the mountains, but what caught her attention was the large truck partially sunk into the mud near the spring. Its tires were half covered with dirt, and it looked abandoned. Maria slowed down her truck and parked a few meters away. Curiosity took over her. Maria always liked solving mysteries, and an abandoned truck in the middle of nowhere was a mystery she could not ignore. She grabbed her bag, which held gloves, a flashlight, and some small tools, and walked toward the truck. Her boots sank slightly into the soft mud, but she did not mind. She felt a strange excitement as she approached the vehicle. The truck looked old, with scratched paint and broken lights. Its windows were dusty, and the doors were locked. Maria noticed that the license plate was bent and half covered with mud. Something about the scene felt strange. She looked around carefully. The forest was quiet, and there was no one in sight. Even the birds seemed to be silent. Maria felt a shiver of anticipation. She circled the truck slowly, examining it from every side. The tires were sunk deep into the soft ground near the hot spring. It was clear that the truck had not moved for some time. Maria's mind raced with questions. Who had left it here? Why? And most importantly, what was inside? Maria knelt beside the back of the truck. She noticed a small rusted latch on the trunk. It looked old, but it was still functional. Her hands were steady as she touched it. She felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement. Maria had opened many machines and engines before, but this felt different. This was not just a mechanical problem. This was a secret waiting to be discovered. Taking a deep breath, Maria pushed the latch. The trunk creaked loudly, and Maria stepped back slightly. The sound echoed in the quiet forest, but there was no response. She bent down and carefully lifted the trunk lid. What she saw made her eyes widen. Inside the trunk were several neatly stacked boxes. They were heavy and made of thick wood. Each box had strange symbols and markings on the outside. Maria had never seen these symbols before. They were not in any language she knew. Her heart beat faster. She reached for the first box and lifted it carefully. It was heavy, but she managed to pull it out slowly. When Maria opened the box, she found old tools. They were different from the tools she used in her workshop. These tools were beautifully made, with unusual designs. Some had intricate carvings, and some were made of metals that shined even in the dim light. Along with the tools, there were papers with diagrams and drawings. The papers were old, but well preserved. Maria looked at them closely. They showed machines she had never seen before. Some designs seemed impossible, yet fascinating. Maria realized that this truck was not just abandoned. Someone had hidden these items here for a reason. Maybe they were valuable, or maybe they were dangerous. The thought made Maria both nervous and excited. She knew she had found something important, but she also knew she had to be careful. She opened the second box. This time, she found small mechanical parts, some with gears and small wheels. They looked like pieces of machines that could move on their own. Maria turned each part in her hands, studying them. She wondered who had made them and why. The designs were too advanced to be ordinary. She felt as if she had discovered a secret that had been waiting for many years. As Maria opened more boxes, she found photographs and old documents. The photographs showed people working with machines in workshops. One photo showed a man holding a glowing object, standing in front of a small volcanic area, very similar to the hot spring near the truck. Maria studied the photos carefully. She could see that the machines were different from anything she had seen in her town or even in books. Maria realized that the hot spring was not just a place for relaxation. It had been used to hide the truck because the steam and heat could keep it secret. Whoever hid the truck had thought carefully about its location. Maria felt a sense of responsibility. She had found something important, and now it was up to her to decide what to do next. She thought for a moment. Should she take the items to her workshop, or leave them here? She knew the machines and documents could be valuable, but they could also attract attention from the wrong people. Maria decided to take only the papers and photographs for now. They were light and easy to carry. The heavy machines could stay in the trunk until she could figure out a safer plan. Maria carefully placed the papers and photographs in her bag. She closed the boxes gently and shut the trunk. She looked around again, making sure no one was watching. The forest was still quiet, and the hot spring continued to release steam into the morning air. Maria felt a mixture of fear, excitement, and curiosity. She had discovered something that could change her life, but she did not yet understand its full importance. As she walked back to her truck, Maria could not stop thinking about the hidden items. Who had made them? Why were they hidden? And what would happen if someone else found them before she could? Maria knew that she had stumbled upon a secret, and secrets often had consequences. She climbed into her truck, started the engine, and drove slowly back to her workshop. Her mind was full of questions and ideas. She knew that this was only the beginning of an adventure. The abandoned truck by the hot spring had given her a mystery, and Maria was ready to solve it. She felt a spark of excitement she had never felt before. This discovery was more than a simple mechanical problem. It was a challenge, a secret, and an opportunity all in one. Maria arrived at her workshop and parked her truck carefully. She took her bag inside and laid out the papers and photographs on her workbench. She examined each document, looking at the diagrams and sketches of machines. Some designs were impossible, yet they inspired her imagination. Maria realized that she had found something very rare, something that could teach her new skills and knowledge she had never imagined. That evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Maria sat in her workshop surrounded by the old papers and photographs. She thought about the truck, the hot spring, and the mysterious items she had discovered. A sense of adventure filled her heart. She knew that this was just the beginning of a journey that would change her life forever. The next morning, Maria woke early, full of energy and curiosity. She could not stop thinking about the boxes she had found in the truck near the hot spring. Her small workshop was quiet, and the sunlight poured in through the dusty windows, lighting up the papers and photographs she had carefully placed on her workbench. She sipped her coffee slowly, staring at the diagrams. Each one showed machines and inventions she had never seen before. They were more advanced than anything in her town. Maria picked up one of the photographs and studied it closely. The photo showed a group of people in a workshop. Their faces were serious, and they worked with strange machines that glowed faintly. The machines looked alive in some way, with small gears and wheels moving in perfect harmony. Maria noticed that one of the men held a small glowing object in his hands. She did not know what it was, but it seemed very important. She decided to take careful notes. Maria spread out all the papers on the large workbench. She wrote down every observation she could make, trying to understand the purpose of the machines. Some designs looked like engines, but others were completely different. She had never seen anything like them in her mechanical textbooks. Maria felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She was a mechanic, but these machines seemed to be from a different world of knowledge. Maria knew she needed to examine the machines closely, but she also understood the need for caution. She could not take the heavy machines from the truck yet. They were too large and strange, and she did not know if they were safe. Instead, She focused on the small parts and the papers she had taken. She studied every detail, turning gears in her hands and tracing diagrams with her fingers. Every moment revealed something new. As she worked, Maria noticed something unusual in the diagrams. Certain symbols appeared repeatedly, almost like a secret code. They matched the symbols she had seen on the boxes in the trunk. Maria realized that these symbols might hold the key to understanding how the machines worked. She carefully copied them into her notebook. She had learned long ago that sometimes small details held the most important answers. Hours passed, but Maria did not feel tired. Her mind was completely focused on the discovery. She imagined what the glowing objects in the photographs could do, and how the machines in the diagrams might operate. Her imagination ran wild with ideas. Perhaps these machines could move without fuel, or maybe they could store energy in a way no one in her town had ever seen. Maria could not wait to test the small parts she had brought back. Suddenly, Maria heard a faint sound outside her workshop. She froze and listened carefully. It was only the wind, rustling the trees, but her heart beat faster. She knew that someone might be searching for the truck and the items inside it. Whoever had hidden the truck had done so for a reason, and now that she had discovered it, she might be on someone's radar. Maria felt a chill, but it strengthened her resolve. She had found something important, and she would protect it. Maria decided to organize the small parts. She placed them on the workbench in groups. Gears together, small machines together, and tools in one corner. She examined each part carefully, trying to imagine how they could fit together. Some parts moved easily in her hands, while others seemed to resist. It was as if the machines had their own intelligence. Maria smiled. She loved challenges, and this was the biggest challenge she had ever faced. While arranging the parts, Maria noticed a small metal box she had overlooked before. It was tucked in the corner of one of the larger boxes. The box was locked, but it had a tiny keyhole. Maria searched her bag and toolbox but could not find a key. She wondered if the key had been left behind in the truck or if it was hidden somewhere else. The mystery of the small box made her heart race. She felt sure it held something very important. Determined to learn more, Maria focused on the diagrams and papers. She realized that some diagrams showed machines connected by wires, while others showed glowing objects being placed inside machines. She studied them carefully, trying to understand the logic. After several hours, a pattern began to emerge. The machines seemed to convert energy from one form to another, almost like magic but explained through engineering. Maria's eyes sparkled with excitement. She was discovering secrets that had been hidden for many years. By midday, Maria had organized all the papers and parts. She took a break, eating a small sandwich while thinking about her next steps. She knew she needed more tools and supplies if she wanted to experiment with the small parts safely. But she also understood that she had to be cautious. The machines were not ordinary, and she could not risk making mistakes. Maria made a plan. She would work slowly, studying each part and diagram, and only test the smaller pieces first. As she returned to her workbench, Maria noticed something else in the photographs. In the background of one picture, she saw a building hidden behind trees. It looked like a workshop or a storage place. The building was old, but it seemed important. Maria wondered if it had any connection to the truck and the hidden machines. She made a note to investigate the area near the hot spring when she had more information. Perhaps there were more clues waiting to be found. Maria's curiosity was growing stronger. She felt like she was part of a story that had been waiting for her. She realized that the discovery was not only about the machines. It was about the people who had hidden them and the secrets they wanted to protect. Maria could feel the history behind the items, and it made her even more determined to learn everything she could. In the afternoon, Maria carefully examined a small device she had found in one of the boxes. It had tiny gears, wires, and a small glowing part. She held it in her hands and tried to understand how it worked. After careful observation, she realized that it could store energy and release it in controlled ways. Maria's mind raced with possibilities. If she could understand how it worked, she could recreate it safely in her workshop. Hours turned into evening. The sun began to set, casting golden light through the windows of her workshop. Maria felt a sense of accomplishment. She had studied the papers, examined the parts, and discovered patterns in the diagrams. She had not yet solved all the mysteries, but she had made progress. Maria knew that tomorrow would bring more discoveries. Before leaving her workshop for the night, Maria carefully placed the papers, photographs, and small parts in secure boxes. She locked them and hid them in a safe corner. She knew that the items were too valuable to leave out in the open. Maria stepped outside, breathing in the cool mountain air. The hot spring in the distance reflected the colors of the sunset, and she felt a deep sense of wonder. She realized that she had found more than machines. She had found a secret world waiting to be understood. As Maria walked back to her small home, she felt a mixture of excitement and determination. She knew that the next days would be challenging. There would be more mysteries to solve, and perhaps dangers she could not yet imagine. But Maria was ready. She was a mechanic, a problem solver, and now, an explorer of secrets hidden for years. She smiled, thinking of the adventure that lay ahead. The discovery of the abandoned truck and the boxes had changed her life forever. The following morning, Maria woke with a sense of excitement. She had spent the previous day examining the papers, photographs, and small machine parts she had taken from the abandoned truck. Her workshop was quiet, but the air seemed charged with possibility. Maria knew that the items she had found were unusual, but she also knew that she could learn from them. She had already discovered patterns in the diagrams, and she felt closer to understanding how the machines worked. After breakfast, Maria returned to her workbench and carefully opened the small metal box she had found in one of the larger boxes. Although the box was locked, she had found a tiny key tucked into the corner of another box. Her hands trembled slightly as she inserted the key into the lock. The metal clicked, and she lifted the lid. Inside, she found a small device that glowed softly. It was about the size of her hand and had tiny moving parts inside. Maria studied it carefully. The device seemed alive, almost as if it had its own energy source. She could feel warmth from it as she held it. Maria realized that this device might be the key to understanding the larger machines. She examined it under her magnifying glass and traced the wires and gears with her fingers. Everything about it was precise and delicate. She noted down her observations, drawing sketches of the parts and the connections between them. Maria could feel a mixture of curiosity and responsibility. Whoever had made this device had designed it with care, and it was now in her hands. As she worked, she heard a faint sound outside her workshop. It was not the wind or birds this time. It sounded like footsteps crunching on the gravel. Maria froze and listened carefully. The sound grew closer, slow and deliberate. Her heart began to beat faster. She was alone in the mountains, and the items she had discovered were unusual. Who could be walking near her workshop at this hour? Maria moved to the window and peeked outside. A man was walking toward her workshop. He was tall, wearing a hat that shaded his face, and his clothes were dusty and worn. Maria could not see his eyes clearly, but there was something about him that made her cautious. She knew she had to be careful. The man reached the door of the workshop and knocked gently. Maria took a deep breath and opened the door just a crack. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady but firm. The man raised his hands. "Please, I mean no harm," he said. "My name is Daniel. I am looking for something very important that belongs to my family." Maria's curiosity grew. "What do you mean? What are you looking for?" she asked. Daniel looked around at her workshop, then back at Maria. "I heard that someone had found a truck near the hot spring," he said. "That truck was supposed to stay hidden. It contained machines and devices that my family has protected for generations. I did not expect anyone to find it." Maria's mind raced. She realized that the man must know about the items she had discovered. She held her bag tightly, which contained the papers, photographs, and small parts. "Why was the truck hidden there?" she asked. Daniel took a deep breath. The hot spring is a safe place, he explained. It is remote and surrounded by natural barriers. My family used it to hide important inventions. They are not dangerous if handled carefully, but they could fall into the wrong hands. That is why we kept them secret for so long. Maria nodded slowly, understanding the seriousness of the situation. She realized that the discovery was bigger than she had imagined. I found some of the papers and parts, she said. I have been studying them. I want to understand how they work. Daniel's expression changed. He seemed both surprised and pleased. You have a sharp mind, he said. Not many people could study these devices and understand even a part of them. If you are willing, I can teach you how to handle them safely. There is much you can learn, but you must promise to be careful. Maria agreed without hesitation. She felt a sense of excitement she had never felt before. This was more than a discovery. It was an opportunity to learn and grow. She and Daniel moved to the workbench, where the small device and other parts were laid out. Daniel studied the diagrams and papers with her, pointing out details she had not noticed. He explained how the machines could store energy, move parts with precision, and even perform tasks without fuel in certain conditions. As they worked, Daniel told Maria about the history of the machines. They had been designed by his ancestors, who were engineers and inventors. They had created devices that could solve problems in ways that ordinary machines could not. Some devices were used for construction, some for transportation, and some for experiments with energy. Daniel emphasized that the machines were a gift of knowledge, and they had to be protected. Maria listened carefully. She realized that the photographs she had found were proof of the careful work done by Daniel's family. The glowing objects she had seen in the photos were energy sources that powered the machines. Daniel showed her how to identify them and handle them safely. Maria was amazed by the precision and creativity of the designs. Hours passed quickly as they worked together. Maria learned to assemble small parts, test energy flow, and understand the diagrams. She felt proud of herself and grateful for Daniel's guidance. At the same time, she could not help but wonder about the larger machines still hidden in the truck near the hot spring. What other secrets were waiting to be discovered? As the sun began to set, Daniel stood up and stretched. We should stop for today, he said. You have learned a lot, but the larger machines require careful planning. Tomorrow, we can go back to the hot spring and examine them. It will not be easy, but I believe you are ready. Maria agreed. She felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She knew that the next day would bring new challenges, but she was ready to face them. She carefully packed the small device, papers, and parts into her bag and locked them in a safe corner of her workshop. Before leaving, Maria looked out of the window toward the mountains. The hot spring was visible in the distance, its steam rising in the cool evening air. She felt a sense of wonder and anticipation. The discovery had started with a simple abandoned truck, but now it had become a journey of learning, adventure, and responsibility. As Maria walked to her small home for the night, she thought about the mysteries that still awaited her. The machines, the glowing objects, and the photographs held secrets that could change her understanding of engineering and invention. She realized that her life had changed forever. What had started as a simple curiosity had turned into a mission to protect knowledge and uncover hidden truths. Maria went to bed that night with her mind full of ideas. She dreamed of machines that moved on their own, glowing objects that powered incredible inventions, and the hidden truck in the hot spring. She knew that tomorrow would bring new discoveries, and she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The next morning, Maria woke with a sense of purpose. She had spent the previous day learning from Daniel about the small machines and the glowing devices. Her mind was full of ideas and curiosity, but today was the day they would return to the hot spring. The larger machines still lay in the abandoned truck, and Maria knew that examining them would be challenging. Maria packed her bag with tools, notebooks, and the small devices she had already studied. Daniel arrived shortly afterward, carrying a few extra parts and protective gloves. He wore sturdy boots, and his eyes looked serious yet hopeful. "Are you ready?" he asked. Maria nodded. I have never been more ready, she replied, her excitement shining through. They drove carefully along the mountain road. The forest was quiet, and the steam from the hot spring was visible even from a distance. The truck sat in the mud just as Maria had seen it before. The sunlight reflected on its scratched surface, making it look mysterious and important. Maria's heart raced as she stepped out of her vehicle. Daniel handed Maria a pair of gloves and a flashlight. Be careful, he said. The machines inside are delicate and valuable. Some parts are sensitive to heat, so we must work carefully and methodically. Maria nodded and approached the truck. She could see the rusted latch on the back, and she felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Together, they opened the trunk. The boxes were exactly as Maria had left them, stacked neatly despite being in the mud. Maria and Daniel carefully removed the first box. It was heavier than she expected, but with Daniel's help, they lifted it onto the ground. Maria examined the markings on the box. The symbols matched the diagram she had studied, and she realized that each box was organized according to the type of machine or device inside. As they opened the first box, Maria's eyes widened. Inside were medium-sized machines, some with gears and pulleys, others with small glowing elements. They were more complex than the smaller devices she had studied in her workshop. Daniel explained that these machines were designed to perform specialized tasks. Some could lift heavy objects, while others could store energy to operate without fuel for short periods. Maria carefully examined one of the machines. It was delicate and intricate, with small gears moving smoothly as she turned a handle. She could feel the energy inside it, almost as if it was alive. It is incredible, she whispered. Daniel smiled. These machines were designed to work with precision and efficiency. Your curiosity and patience will help us understand them. They moved on to the next box. This one contained several glowing objects similar to the one Maria had unlocked in her workshop. Daniel explained that these objects were energy sources. They stored energy in a way that was both safe and powerful, but only if handled properly. Maria studied them carefully, making notes and sketches of their design. She realized that these energy sources were the heart of the machines, powering them without ordinary fuel. As they worked, Maria noticed something unusual about one of the machines. It had a series of interconnected parts that seemed to move on their own when placed in a certain position. She called Daniel over. Look at this, she said. It seems to work without any manual input. Daniel studied the machine and nodded. Yes, he said. This is one of the most advanced designs. It converts stored energy into motion automatically. It is delicate but powerful. Maria carefully experimented with the machine, observing how the parts moved and how the energy flowed. She realized that each machine in the boxes was connected to a larger system. If assembled correctly, they could work together to perform complex tasks. Maria's excitement grew. She had never seen machines so intelligent and well-designed. Hours passed as Maria and Daniel examined each box. They worked methodically, taking notes and handling every part with care. The sun moved higher in the sky, casting warm light over the hot spring. Maria could hear the gentle bubbling of the water, a reminder of the remote and hidden location. She felt a sense of wonder. This was not just a discovery of machines, it was a journey into the ingenuity of Daniel's family, preserved and hidden for generations. As they finished with the last box, Maria and Daniel stepped back to admire their work. The machines and devices were now organized on the ground near the truck. Each one was carefully placed, and Maria could see how the energy sources and machines were connected. She felt a sense of pride and responsibility. These items were not ordinary. They were part of a legacy that she now shared in protecting. Daniel turned to Maria. Tomorrow, we will begin assembling some of these machines, he said. We will start with the smaller ones to understand how they function together. Then, when we are ready, we can move on to the larger systems. It will be challenging, but I believe we can do it. Maria nodded eagerly. She could hardly wait to begin. Before leaving the hot spring, Maria took one last look at the truck. It had hidden secrets that were more incredible than she had imagined. The adventure had started with curiosity, but now it had become a mission. Maria realized that her skills as a mechanic were only the beginning. She would need patience, intelligence, and courage to uncover the full potential of the machines. As they drove back to her workshop, Maria felt a mixture of excitement and determination. She thought about the day's discoveries, the glowing devices, and the moving machines. Each item held a story, and each story was a lesson in ingenuity and creativity. Maria knew that she had been given a unique opportunity to learn and grow in ways she had never imagined. That evening, Maria carefully unpacked the smaller machines and energy devices in her workshop. She organized them on the workbench and began examining them once again. Daniel stayed nearby, guiding her and explaining details about the design and function of each device. Maria felt a strong sense of teamwork and trust. She knew that together, they could unlock the secrets of the hidden machines. As the night fell, Maria looked out of her workshop window. The mountains were bathed in moonlight, and the hot spring in the distance glowed softly in her memory. She thought about the adventure that had begun with an abandoned truck and a simple curiosity. The mystery had grown into something larger, something that could teach her more than she had ever learned in her life. Before going to bed, Maria carefully locked all the machines and energy devices in a safe corner of her workshop. She felt a sense of responsibility and pride. She had discovered something incredible, and now it was her duty to protect it. As she drifted to sleep, she dreamed of machines moving with glowing energy, of puzzles waiting to be solved, and of the adventure that lay ahead. Maria knew that the journey was far from over. The truck, the hot spring, and the hidden machines were only the beginning. She had taken the first steps into a world of secrets, inventions, and discovery. The next days would bring challenges, learning, and perhaps surprises that she could not yet imagine. But Maria was ready. She had curiosity, skill, and courage. And with those, she felt she could face anything that came her way. The next morning, Maria woke with a feeling of excitement and determination. Today was the day she and Daniel would begin testing some of the machines they had carefully examined. She had spent the past few days studying the diagrams, small devices, and glowing energy sources. She understood more about how the parts worked together, but now she was ready to see them in action. Maria packed her bag with tools, notes, and the energy devices she had studied. Daniel arrived soon after, carrying protective gloves and a small toolkit. "Are you ready?" he asked. Maria nodded firmly. "Yes. I have waited for this moment," she replied. Together, they drove to the hot spring where the abandoned truck waited. The truck sat quietly in the mud, surrounded by the rising steam from the hot spring. Maria and Daniel carefully opened the trunk and began removing the smaller machines they had planned to test. They placed each one on a flat area near the water, taking care to keep them stable. Maria could feel her heart beating faster as she looked at the machines lined up before her. They were more incredible than she had imagined. Daniel handed Maria a small glowing object. "This is the energy source," he explained. "It powers the machines. Handle it carefully, and do exactly as I show you." Maria nodded, holding the device in her hands. It felt warm and alive, as if it was waiting for her to unlock its potential. They began with a small machine that looked like a miniature engine. Maria carefully inserted the energy source and turned a small lever. To her amazement, the gears began to move smoothly on their own. The machine hummed softly, and a small platform lifted slightly into the air. Maria watched in wonder. It was working exactly as the diagrams had suggested. Daniel smiled. "Excellent. You have a natural understanding of these machines," he said. "Now we can try a more complex one." Together, they moved to a larger device. This machine had several interconnected parts, gears, and pulleys. Maria carefully attached the energy source, following Daniel's instructions step by step. As she turned the lever, the machine began to move. Gears rotated, pulleys shifted, and a small arm extended outward. Maria and Daniel watched as it lifted a heavy piece of wood that they had placed nearby. The machine moved with precision and strength, much more powerful than they had expected. Maria felt a surge of pride. She was seeing the ingenuity of Daniel's family come to life. They continued testing the other machines, one by one. Each device had its own function and purpose. Some could lift objects, some could spin gears to transfer energy, and some could even store energy for later use. Maria realized that these machines could solve problems in ways ordinary machines could not. She felt as if she had entered a world of possibilities, where creativity and science came together in perfect harmony. As they worked, Maria noticed something unusual about one of the machines. It had a small glowing core that pulsed gently. When she touched it lightly, the machine's movements became smoother and faster. Daniel explained that the machine had a self-regulating energy system. It could adjust its own power based on the tasks it performed. Maria was amazed. The level of intelligence built into these machines was incredible. Hours passed, but Maria and Daniel were completely absorbed in their work. The machines moved, lifted, and rotated under their careful guidance. The hot spring provided a quiet and remote location, perfect for testing the devices. Maria felt a sense of wonder and responsibility. She knew that these machines were more than tools. They were a legacy, a gift of knowledge that had been protected for generations. After testing several machines successfully, Maria and Daniel decided to assemble a larger system. They combined multiple machines to see how they could work together. It was a complex process, requiring careful alignment of gears, pulleys, and energy sources. Maria carefully followed the diagrams, while Daniel guided her with his knowledge. Step by step, the system came together. When they finally inserted the energy sources and turned the main lever, the system came alive. Gears moved in perfect synchronization, pulleys lifted objects, and energy flowed smoothly from one machine to another. Maria and Daniel watched in awe as the entire system operated without any manual intervention. It was like watching a well-coordinated orchestra, where each part played its role perfectly. Maria could hardly contain her excitement. She realized that they had not only tested the machines, they had unlocked their full potential. The glowing energy sources, combined with precise engineering, created a system that could perform complex tasks automatically. Maria felt proud of herself and grateful for Daniel's guidance. Together, they had discovered the power and intelligence hidden within the machines. As the sun began to set, Maria and Daniel stepped back to admire their work. The machines were now organized and functioning perfectly. Maria felt a deep sense of accomplishment. She had learned so much in a short time, and she knew that this was only the beginning. There were more machines to discover, more energy devices to study, and more secrets to uncover. Daniel turned to Maria. "You have done exceptionally well," he said. "These machines are safe now, and we understand their potential. But remember, they must always be protected. Knowledge like this can change the world, and it must be used wisely." Maria nodded. She understood the responsibility that came with discovery. The adventure had started with an abandoned truck, but it had grown into a mission to learn, protect, and explore. Before leaving the hot spring, Maria carefully packed the machines and energy devices back into the truck. She and Daniel ensured that everything was organized and secure. The truck, which had once been a simple mystery, now held machines alive with power and purpose. Maria realized that this experience had taught her more than mechanical skills. It had taught her patience, observation, responsibility, and the value of curiosity. As they drove back to her workshop, Maria felt a mixture of excitement and reflection. She thought about how a simple curiosity had led her to discover hidden machines, learn their secrets, and see them come to life. She realized that adventure often begins with small steps, and courage and curiosity can open doors to new possibilities. That evening, Maria carefully placed the machines and energy devices in her workshop. She made notes about each one, documenting what they had learned. Daniel helped her organize the devices and explained ways to study them safely in the future. Maria felt a sense of pride and fulfillment. She had not only solved the mystery of the abandoned truck, but she had also discovered a hidden world of knowledge and invention. As night fell, Maria looked out of her workshop window at the mountains. The hot spring in the distance reflected the moonlight, reminding her of the place where her adventure had begun. She thought about the machines, the glowing devices, and the history behind them. Maria realized that the journey was far from over. There were still secrets to uncover, new machines to understand, and knowledge to protect. Maria went to bed that night feeling happy and inspired. She dreamed of machines moving gracefully, of energy flowing through gears, and of discoveries waiting to be made. She knew that she had become part of something larger than herself, a guardian of knowledge and a learner of incredible inventions. The abandoned truck and the hidden machines had changed her life forever, opening the door to adventure, learning, and endless possibilities. Maria knew that curiosity and courage had brought her this far, and she was ready for whatever came next. She had faced mysteries, learned secrets, and seen machines come alive. And she knew that with determination, intelligence, and care, she could continue to unlock the hidden wonders of the world.